Alright, welcome to today's episode of the Australian Lawn and Garden Podcast. What I'm about to show you is one of the coolest tours I've ever done in my life. We went behind the scenes at a facility with over 7,500 walk behind mowers, 1,000 plus ride-on mowers, manufacturing to make blades, 70,000 different types of spare parts and dozens of each of those spare parts. Had a look at how they get into your hands, how these things are made, what they're made out of, looking at the tools, everything. I got this awesome opportunity because Ben Gripsky from Roy Gripsky and Sons, and probably the brands you're more familiar with, would be things like Bush Ranger, GA Spares, you get the idea. But he reached out and he said, hey, if you're in the area, which I was, why don't we go and do a tour? So we did. He's taken me around the facility. I think there's 7 massive sheds. I was blown away by the size of it. I think you will be too. Anyways, without further ado, let's get into this amazing tour. Alright, welcome to today's episode of the Australian Lawn and Garden Podcast. I'm with Ben.
Hello, mate.
Backward handshake. You are from RGS.
Yep.
A lot of you people would have known the brands that you deal with, but they might not know the behind the scenes of where this stuff actually comes from.
Yep.
So tell us, if no one ever heard of you before, what do you look after, the brands you look after, and what are we going to look at today?
All right, so you're at RGS's headquarters in Queensland. So RGS stands for Roy Gripsky and Sons. I'm Ben Gripsky, so...
You're the son?
No, I'm the grandson, actually, so it's third generation. Roy started this business as a retailer. He was actually Rover account number 1, so the first retailer for Rover in Australia. And our background comes from being a dealer and struggling to service customers. So we're a family business that's here to help other family businesses. Roy got a few parts in to help himself when he was repairing mowers in the early days and help the other dealers around him. So we've always been a business that's here in the background looking after other dealers. Okay, we're a very dealer-focused business. Roy Gripsky and Sons itself is split into 2. So PLP, Power Lawn Care Products, and GA Power Equipment Spares. GA is the aftermarket arm where we look after brands such as Pro Cut Chain, Diamond Edge, Vortex, and Trailblazer trimmer lines. We do Kawasaki lawn sin engines, and then obviously our Australian-made swingback blades. We make them here. You'll see that today, and we package them here as well. So all that's done on site here where we are. Power Lawn Care Products is responsible for the OE brands, so brands such as Bush Ranger, Gravely, Steger. I think that's all of them down there at the moment. And it's operated on site here, but in a completely separate building, and you can see all the OEM sort of things that we do here. So we would be the largest privately owned distribution company in this industry in the Southern Hemisphere.
Wow.
Yep.
All right, so we're going to go behind the scenes and look at what actually goes on to get, the blades to the people, mowers to the people. Hopefully it's really informative. I'm looking forward to it.
No worries. Thanks.
Let's get into it.
So we're going to start at shed 1 of 7. Basically, in shed 1, there's a small part of the operation now. Back in the early 80s, 70s and 80s, when walk-behind push mowers first came to market, people didn't know about two-stroke oil, so they had to mix that, and we had a lot of straight fueling occurring. And back then, a big part of what we did as a company was we were doing the rebores. So, a Victor or Rover 2-stroke engines, people would straight fuel them. They'd need an oversized piston, they'd be honed, repaired, and then sent back out. In the late 90s, we got to as much as we were doing between probably 6,000 and 7,000 rebores a year.
Gee whiz.
And that area, even though it's quite a small area, it's really what brought us forward. It's what made us or enabled us to deal with every dealer in the country.
So have you been here since the 80s then?
No, not in this location, no. So we moved out here in 2000. Earlier we were in Abbotsford Road in Redcliffe, and then we moved to Beach Street. There's been 3 moves to this location. This is not our only location. So we got this at Brisbane, we've got Sydney, we've got Melbourne, we've got Adelaide, we've got Perth, and then Launceston.
All right. So all those rebores, because you really did start out as just a normal mower dealer in a sense, right? You were just, and then you saw, I guess, if I'm understanding correctly, a gap in the market, or you weren't being served well as this is your grandfather's idea.
Yeah.
And so it's it sounds like quite naturally over time things have grown.
That's right.
Not necessarily that someone started out with this grand master plan to create the biggest.
That's right.
We just said distributor in the Southern Hemisphere.
Yeah. We used to have 9 of these, so they're very old now. but you actually mount the cylinder in here, and that comes in and oversizes your cylinders. We're sort of going through the process in reverse. You can hear the cylinder grinder go down to that. Sensormatic switching down there last year. This room used to be all boring bars along there, and this is the honing machine. So we used to have a person employed full time just standing there honing. So that's a Regal. Alright. That's a 2-stroke block. And cylinder head. So that was a honing station. Alright, so we still do about 30 or 40 a month now. Oh, yeah. We still offer it. And we can do, we're just running out of pistons and rings and stuff like that. Like a couple of the early 125cc pistons, the oversized rings, we just can't buy them anymore.
I gotta say, this chainsaw chain is making me feel insecure about my chainsaw chain at home.
That's 3/4 halves the chain. So that's used on all the logging machines. And there's the bars to suit. So that's a chainsaw bar.
And you rush past this guy.
Yeah.
But is this an automatic chain sharpener?
Yes, it is. Yeah. So we are the distributor for Marcusson. There was a stand last week. You would have seen the Marcusson grinder set up there last week. They're not cheap. You know, $11 to $15 sort of $1,000 depending on what they are. But you have the ability to do any chain size, fully automated. It can sense cutters, cutter direction. You can set the depth, and you set and forget essentially.
So you would be selling these to people who are either mower shops who do a lot of sharpening themselves?
Yeah, big contractors, those sorts of guys.
Because when you put it in that sense, like, I mean, 11 to 15 grand is a hell of a lot of money in anyone's book. Yeah. If you are spending a lot of time sharpening, you're paying labour for people to do it, you'd be spending how much money a year easily in labour.
No, that's right. And when you're looking at, you know, some of these guys are doing 40 to 50 chains a day. You know, to sit there and manually use a grinder on it, you've got all the different, you know, pressures and all of these, everything, every little thing counts when it comes to getting the chain right, and that tricer will eliminate a lot of that. So these are relatively new in the market. There's probably, I want to say 15 in the country at the moment, but it's something we're working towards just to help. We make the discs, so we actually manufacture that grinding wheel for them, and these are our test units. Okay. So we make these cylinders. So anyone from Western Australia, and you're from Western Australia, so that's our Australian-made 17-inch Scottish cylinders. Okay, so this material comes in 30-inch lengths. Okay. Comes in 30-inch lengths. It goes cut to size depending on the size of the machine. And then so there's a 14 on top there and a 17. And then we make this, we call it a spider in the centre, they're made next door. And then each one will be manually put in there and then welded in.
That's right. How long does it take to make one?
Probably 45 minutes to an hour.
It depends on the skill and experience.
Yeah, so like that. And then they keep following them through.
And then I'm guessing you take it after that into the grinder that I can hear over there.
No, so they go over to powder coat, they get powder coated, and then they come back and then they get ground. So we've got some come back to the powder coater there, which have been ground. This is a 45-ton press that's sitting on a custom slab that's 2 metres thick, that slab.
At the bottom?
Yeah, this one here, so see the split? And then that's got 1 metre deep rubber boots underneath it, so that when that's pressing, it's not cracking the floor through the entire premise.
So what are you pressing in this?
That's pressing your Greenfield and Cox non-genuine blades. It also does in WA all your soft edger blades, you know, the soft MUYs, all of those unhardened blades. They're all run through that. We actually ran a Hickman last week. Have you got any of those blades left? Yeah, you know.
Heaps of seats.
Yeah, actually got there.
Some left.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so heaps of these.
Yes. So
Used plenty of those in my time.
Yep. So we recently changed that from being a flat bar, where we got in a piece of flat bar and they were cut and then drilled, to now we run them through the press. Just to keep the cost down, because in WA you want them as cheap as possible because you wear through so many. And that's how we can do it, and now we can do them fast. Okay, so they're only for WA. So everything on this wall, every individual number, Okay, that's a SKU number. One has a tool. So what I showed you over there is tools. There's some more there. Every single one of these parts is made here. Okay, in some capacity. So you just asked me about the different presses. So each press has a different weight that applies, and so INSO has a different thickness of material it can work on, and then each tool has its purpose. Now, this, for example, does all your Rover, Victor, your common 18-inch blades, goes through here, and when it's operational, you're running about 2 a second. Okay, so that's making 2 blades every second in a 3-stage press. So there's 3 impacts to manufacture the blade. We make all the discs here, and discs are something that you're going to see launched this Saturday at LLE. So we will have a disc launched this week, which is for Stihl, Greenworks and Bushranger 21-inch self-propelled to go disc and swing backs.
Right.
Okay, so you will have that as of this week. Honda blades, Victor blades, Rover blades, all of those are in that there, and they're all made here. You can see the raw material stacked here. We actually buy it in 2-meter long lengths. It's slit to the width of the blade. So each coil is actually 1 blade. So when we run a set of blades, it's normally about 10,000 blades we're running.
Right.
Okay, and we make about 2 million blades a year in here. So if you look at that I can tell by looking at that, that's a Honda blade. Okay, so that's all of those coils are here for Honda blades. That's a ton in a coil, and we have to order this 12 months in advance. So we have to hold on site 12 months worth of raw material, estimated 12 months, 12 months worth of manufactured material, and 12 months worth of packed blades. Because if it rains, like in WA, it's been so dry, no one's used blades over there for the last 2 years. If you get a heap of rain and it gets going, your volume of consumption is just going to spike, and we can't just buy material. So we've got to hold that for that opportunity, and we do. Okay.
You said, well, I'm not sure if I'm used to it, but how much does this weigh?
1 ton. That's a ton.
That's a
That's a ton. That's a ton. That's a ton. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 tons sitting right there.
Gee, and I mean, what's another 10 there or something?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ton there of material. Yeah. You can see there greenfield decks. So aluminium greenfield decks for greenfield mowers. These come to us non-drilled. They come straight to us from the manufacturer. We don't manufacture these here, but we drill them. Okay, same with the clutch corks behind you, to grind some clutch corks. Yeah. So that comes in and we fit this here.
Right.
Okay. So
what's that off?
A greenfield.
Right.
Greenfield drives.
HRU216?
No, that is the 21-inch self-propelled battery, 82 volt.
Ah, the new one.
Yeah, the new one. So that's for the new Globe Tools, Stihl, Greenworks and Bushranger. So we have a tool maker, we employ a tool maker. That's the inside of a tool. So that's those tools split in half. And you can see this is a 3-stage press. So what, first impact is putting in our logo and the dome. Second impact punches the hole. Third impact is doing the flute.
So basically it moves along each time.
That's right. So that there would make that first, no hole.
Right.
Okay. Second one punches your hole, so your hole punches through. Third one does the flute. Okay. And each one of those blocks is manufactured and maintained here. And to manufacture a tool from scratch, you're looking at between $10,000 and $15,000 a tool.
Wow. So just to make this for a piece of metal, which people look at it and go, this is 2 cents worth of wood material, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And they'll go, how come it's so expensive to buy? Well, it's $15,000 for that.
Yeah. So every 100,000 impacts, this needs to be maintained. So all the punches, so everything that's punching, they're all wearing components similar to the blades themselves. So they're all wearing parts, so they need to be sharpened, freshened back up. So we'll do a big run and then we maintain them. And we actually press your swage in. So we call that a swage, you call that your cutting edge. That is actually a part of the tool process. That's done in the manufacturing. We don't grind them sharp.
Is the metal heated at all?
No, so that is heated, but it's not heated here.
Let's say this is, I don't know, 15 grand, you said roughly.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
How many of these presses would you need to make an entire mower from scratch?
Oh no, It's completely different when you go into a complete unit. One, the tool sizes change dramatically, and to press, if you're doing decks or big, triangle pieces, you need to fly to the US and go and have a look at Gravely or Nerins and go through one of those factories. The tooling required to do that is unbelievable. So this is just that all of those machines you've seen here are to make just the flower blades for the Australian market, just these, nothing else.
A lot of people wonder, like, oh, how come we don't make stuff in Australia?
You can see that when we get over the manufacturing shed.
Right, but I guess this is part of the process of just one piece.
Correct.
And it's a lot. It's not. I've never seen this stuff before.
Yeah.
And it's a lot more involved than what you would think.
Correct.
A lot of money. And you just look at the size of the presses and everything.
Yeah. So if you look at that just to do the blades and the discs, and then if you imagine like a chassis and all of those pieces in a chassis, so a zero turn is normally made up of 4 box formed pieces. They're all different tools to what you're seeing here. The panels, everything it's very different. It's a very, very big operation. It's awesome to see, and I'm sure that are you going to GOE this year?
Not at the moment.
If you ever get over there, go and have a look at one of those. It's just next to the, it's unreal. Back there, that's the top of your tool. That's the top of the tool to press that.
Right, I see. So
That's
underneath,
the top and the bottom.
you mean underneath that is some...
So that presses together.
Yeah.
And that's what's making that. And if you have a look to get those, so a big complaint we have with all American manufactured machines is they don't cut low enough here.
Yeah.
So to make this cut lower, we've actually stepped it.
Yes.
So see the step? That's to lower the cut down so that the cut isn't up here. And that's to get that lower to make the wider cut where we want it here. Okay.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting to see, just on a different note, a lot of people are using the bar blades because they're lighter, less runtime, or longer runtime, sorry. But
Yeah.
a lot of people like the swingbacks because it saves the engine if you hit something.
Yes.
And they like the finish.
Correct. And we can go lower. So that'll go significantly lower than a bar blade, but a bar blade definitely uses less runtime. And if you put 4 blades on this, you can actually hear the blades louder than the machine. Right. So the noise comes back into play. So when we walk into here, this is GA Power Equipment spares. There is over 70,000 SKUs, so 70,000 part numbers in here. It's not organised in any way, shape or form other than fastest to pack. So you'll see bits and pieces all over the shop. It's just rows of parts essentially, but we're well known throughout the industry for our ability to service customers, and that's because of the way that we operate these warehouses. So we employ probably 2 to 3 times the staff of anybody else, and we don't let a picker pack their own parcels, all trying to eliminate errors. So there's a big theme here with us, it's all service based, and we employ a lot of Australians, so 160 all up. That nearly in its entirety, so a little bit of starter rope, but that's all just Diamond Trailblazer bar blades. All your non-genuine bar blades for every machine on the market essentially. Sure.
So you're telling me that this basically only supplies Queensland?
Correct.
So there's, you said it before, but there's Perth, Melbourne.
Yep. So you got this location servicing Northern Rivers, New South Wales up to Cairns. Sydney doing New South Wales, Melbourne doing New South Wales, a little bit of South Australia. We've got Adelaide itself servicing Adelaide and a lot of the Northern Territory, and then Perth and Launceston. Right. So we have a GA location in every state. So this is a GA location.
Right.
Okay.
How often do you go to those other locations personally?
Multiple times throughout the year. So that's, all the different belts. And this is all aftermarket, right? So no genuine spares here.
So you would, I don't know if you know the number off the top of your head or even if you want to share, but you'd be, if you got 70,000 parts and you've got dozens and dozens and dozens of everything, there's millions of dollars of stock here, would be my guess.
Millions and millions of dollars.
Waiting, and this is the thing that goes on behind the scenes, that we have such expectations of quick delivery and fix my problems, and something broke my mower, and how come you don't have something straight away? But what that really means to be able to serve the client like that is you need this much stuff in the background, and the cost, and that's stuff that doesn't go through my mind.
No, that's right. And we're not bringing you through to show you that. We're bringing you through, I suppose, we're really proud to be Australian. We employ Australian people. We, as a company, we invest so much back into the Australian economy. And as a supplier to our shops, we support the dealers. So we're here for the dealers, and the dealers support us really well, and we appreciate that. But I suppose this message is to get through to you and your listener base, or the contractors. We're really trying to show you that, hey, listen, we need your support as well. And when you're going in looking for this product, if you see a GA product on the wall, that's coming from us. Okay? And know what's going on behind the scenes of it. This is all your swing back blades, so you'll see how these are packed.
So this is how we buy them at the shop.
That's how you buy them at the shop. You'll see how this is packed over the back there, but if you have a look here, these are all on rollers. So this whole section here, okay, so if you see, so when they run out of the last one, the box comes out, they move the box, that comes forward, they can open. One that helps through summer when we're really busy, we've got a picking team and a fulfillment team. So they can actually fill these from the back as we're going through summer. Everything on here is very fast moving, and what that is it's just to try and help the speed. Through summer we can be processing between 200 and 400 orders a day through here.
So across the country, it's a couple of thousand?
It can do, yeah. It's very unusual that you see every state in its peak. It normally peaks in WA different to Brisbane, it's normally peaking in Melbourne different, so each state's normally at a peak, but yeah. Okay, we have the capacity to do big numbers like that. Yeah, how we store our small parts. A lot of people are really amazed at seeing this. So we keep a lot of our really small. This actually enabled us to. That's an empty one, but you can have 3 part numbers in the one location.
So I've got to look at these parts.
Yeah, tie straps. There's
right, yeah, the chains.
Kawasaki engine parts. And you've got 2, so that location there, so that's a handle off a spinner. That's a, I don't know, water seal off a water pump.
Is there ever a part that you've rejected stocking?
Oh, we've got indent parts where you've got to order them to receive them, but you can see there, you can put 4 items in a location there. So basically what these enable us to do is limit. If we had all of them out in those grey parts boxes that you see in a dealership, we'd just have rows and rows. We'd need more warehouse space. This is just consolidating those small components into one location.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's parcels in, parcels out. Air filters, that whole row is air filters. Just had a shipment in. The Lonsin engines, so Surface Swift engines are Lonsins. Chain. Kawasaki engines, it's just all stock essentially. So this is where we, through summer, when it's really busy, we're receiving a lot of stock in. We have a dedicated warehouse just for receiving goods in. There's a lot of stock from that show last week here, so it's a little bit higgledy-piggledy at the moment.
Well, yeah, we should say, for those who don't know, you had a massive
dealer conference last week.
That's the word. Yeah. I was there for one of the days, but it was 5 days.
We conferenced for 4 days. There was a day set up and a day pack up. And we had reps in and suppliers in from 3 and 4 days prior. We didn't finish that till Sunday. So there's a lot of this stock is still. So they're putting this away at the moment.
But there was hundreds of people.
Yeah, hundreds
dealers
of people.
From across the country.
Just a queue over 500 people there. So this is goods inward. So containers get loaded to the docks, unloaded into here. They generally get moved around the back, checked in, and then the stock's put away. Now this is all for the non-genuine GA part of the business.
Yeah.
We're about to transfer through to PLP. Yeah. So we'll just go up here. We have a sneak down the back.
So we got some mowers up here.
That's few 0 turns.
So this is how they come in. If someone's never bought one, gone out the back of a mower shop, they don't realise. Am I able to lift up this piece of plastic here?
Yeah, so they're Gravely.
So this is how Gravely comes in.
That's the X. What is it? So that's TXL 42. So that's a 42-inch TXL Gravely. That's how they come to us.
And then you send them to the mower shop like this?
Yes.
And the mower shop assembles them?
Pre-delivers them for each person, so there's a cost involved in that. But yeah, you've got to get them, oiled, filled, run up, check all the bolts are tight, check all the handles are in line, make sure the machine runs, engage the blades, all those sorts of things. That's all the responsibility of the dealer.
And these are from America?
Yes, they're all from America.
So you be getting stuff from all sorts of places because you got so many different parts and
Yeah.
everything. So is it usually pretty consistent, or do you get shipping problems and you run behind the stock?
We carry so much stock to allow for mistakes. The challenge with where we are is how long it takes to get product here. So we've got to carry huge inventory holdings to be able to make sure we don't run out of stock. We've also got to be very quick to react to trends in the market. We don't always get it right, but I think we're pretty good at it. But yeah, we can receipt product in from anywhere in the world, and we do. You know, and it's not unusual in summer for this place to be doing 10 to 20 containers a week at all. So you know, container slots book in the morning, they fill this all up, they mark them off, the next day there's more coming through. So those Graveleys, here's some Spartans. This is all just stock come back from the show, but this is all Spartan to Graveleys. This is just going to become a common thing, so get used to it. More Graveleys, I mean Spartans.
How many mowers do you have in here?
At any one time, one can in Brisbane, anywhere between 900 and 2,500, sort of fluctuates up and down depending on where we are. Most of the time when you want a mower, you want it straight away. If the dealer doesn't have it, they expect us to have it, so we've got to keep a lot of that inventory here.
Well, if you'd say the average price of a ride-on mower is, I mean, there's so many variables, let's say $15,000 a round
I'd
number.
say that 15,000 is probably a little high. The volume markets is definitely in the lower end, but yeah.
True. Commercial stuff is what I'm...
And you're looking at retails as well. You've got to remember there's wholesale and all that involved in it too.
Let's say 10 grand for easy maths, and you've got 900, that would be 900,000, is that right? No, 9 million. 9 million to 25 million if you have 2,500, averaging 10 grand each.
It's one hand, ready to go. That's not what's on the water coming and all that sort of stuff. It's very, very challenging to service the market the way that the market expects to be serviced. So this here, from here on, this is actually damaged. So this is stock that's been shipped from us, that's returned by the dealer because it's arrived damaged, and it's sitting here for our workshop to work on. So we have a dedicated workshop, 3 mechanics. We put an apprentice on every year, only working on our gear. But you've got to remember PLP. So when we walk through that door, we walk into PLP. PLP is all genuine. So all the parts for Gravely in PLP are genuine Gravely parts. The A is non-genuine, PLP is genuine. Okay, so you've got all of this sitting here.
So these are damaged, now they were damaged due to shipping?
Damage through transport. Look, it may have been assembled incorrectly. They may have loose bolts, you know, they might have vibrated coming over, but they're all here. You can see there's one here. And so the workshop then works on them, orders the parts in if need be. This is the parts proceeding into the PLP. You can see we've got a frame there. So that frame's probably for a damaged unit. Or you've got a bent or broken chassis, and they will go then through and make a mower back up out of that, recreate it and ship it.
So do you wear that cost, or is that an insurance thing?
No, so insurance, a lot of the freight is painful. Freight damage is really painful. There's a little bit of it that's insurance, but a lot of that we wear. Well, it's all part and parcel of doing business in Australia, I suppose. So it's all about making sure we're as efficient as we can, making sure we get that as right as we can, but stuff goes wrong. And when it goes wrong, rather than just writing a machine off, we go through and try and recover it.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of value there. I'm sure there'd be some moments though where the damage, like everybody, you start out on a project and you realise, I'm sinking so much money into this, it wasn't even worth the effort.
So they definitely do that here, but there's always a silver lining, and every component on there is a fast moving part essentially, so we strip them back for parts and we can put them back in spare parts. So, and we do that. This is PLP. PLP workshop. Product that dealers can't fix, warranty, you know, if we're seeing something funny happening on a product, they all come back here, we work on them here. We've got a photo room, we photograph everything that comes in, and we're constantly talking to the suppliers. So this is the row of parts, the genuine parts. So this is Stiga, Spartan, Gravely, Aaron's, Super Swift, Bush Ranger, all genuine parts from the supply chain. First. And then on your right is our lawnmower rack. So we hold 7,500 lawnmowers in set at full capacity on this wall.
Gee whiz.
And that's just domestic stock. So commercial's the left-hand side. So there's your famous mower that you know.
Gerald?
Gerald, where is Gerald?
I can't remember the quote. It was.
It's not that one. It's not that one. Gerald is.
Yeah, it's SP. Yeah,
that one. So there's a couple of Geralds for you.
So for those who don't know, Ben came on the podcast and I critiqued their mower names because their mower names are all this kind of stuff, right? And I was like, it's not catchy. You need a catchy name like Gerald, and you guys went and changed the name on the website for about 2 weeks.
Yeah, to
Gerald.
But each number referenced something for us internally, and a lot of that is so 48 to 19 aluminium. Okay, 7 is the engine. So
Hold on a second. 48 is 19.
yeah.
Is that for centimeters?
Yeah, 48 centimeters.
Okay, I was like, why don't I put it 19?
No,
But,
19
okay.
inch, but 48 centimeters, aluminium deck. So aluminium is A, L is Lonsin, 7 is the series number, so how many versions of that?
Right.
Okay, and M is manual, so self-propelled.
Sure.
Alright.
I mean, it makes sense, but you know, come on, initially.
No, but if you have a look, it's got 100R on it, and we're looking at changing those names. So if you look at the new side-by-sides, you've got a Drover, you've got a Muster.
Yes.
We're starting to implement that. It is something we've been doing, but the 100R is your model number.
I see. Yeah.
And we can reference what that is back from here, but these are our internal part numbers. This is how we measure the stock.
This makes total sense.
Yeah.
And so if you had a name, so the Bush Ranger.
So if that was Gerald there, but that's our part number.
Yeah. Okay, I like that idea.
Yeah, and that's what we're working towards.
Practical and also fun.
Yeah.
But you get yeah. Gerald was funny. We got to come up with some better names. I do like the Drover Muster thing that you did with the
side-by-sides.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got some Segways here.
Segway mowers. I forgot to mention Segway. That's my bad. It's another brand we represent.
It was funny. I told my wife the other day she was at the event, and I was at the event. I was telling her about it. I was like, oh, I met one of the guys from Segway,
Yeah.
and she was like the Segway, like the thing you stand on. I was like, oh yeah, they also do robot mowers.
Yeah.
So she was just like, oh, she's up in the industry.
So they're a robotics company. They specialise in robotics, not even the person, but the mobility scooters is only one part of it. They also do hospitality delivery robots. They do all sorts of things. But yeah, the Segway auto mowers, and I used to cylinder mow. I used to, my lawn at home is 100 square metres, used to cylinder mow it, used to really enjoy it, and I don't do it anymore, and now I use a Segway. It's amazing. No wires, RTK technology. As long as you've got clear vision to the sky and, you know, yards under 3,000 square metres, you never have to mow again. And that's just, they are starting to take off.
Is this all the Segways you have for Brisbane right now?
No.
Okay.
This is the picking bay.
Okay. Because what I was looking at is like, we got all these crazy numbers of mowers, you know, what did you say, 7,500, and then what is, you know, 80
So,
Segways there.
you wait, you'll see.
Okay.
You'll see Segways up here.
I was just going to say, like, what is your feel on the market? Because robot mowers have been around for a decade. Well, Husqvarna had in the 90s, but you know, they sort of got more popular recently. And people have been saying for ages that they expect the market's going to become, you know, robotic, and it's growing. But do you feel like it's actually going to get there where it's like you won't really need much of this anymore?
So I always think there'll be a market for rider mowers. I really do. But with the addition of RTK technology, the ability to direct the mower in that direction, the run times on batteries are improving. So one, they're quiet, they can mow every day, all day. So I can mow my lawn at home 4 times in a day with the Segway.
Yeah.
People that really want that perfect lawn, and also hard to get areas. So if you think about a golf course, if you've got a patch of grass in the center of a lake, you know, to move machinery over to that is really challenging. You can set one of them up and it'll just mow that area for you non-stop. That's where they really come into their own, airports, all that sort of stuff. So there's definitely a market for them. Now at $4,000-5,000, it's not really available for the volume consumer. But that I-Series we launched last week, you're looking at under $2,000 for 500 squares retail. You're starting to get to the price points where, hey, I got to buy a mower for, you know, Hondas anywhere from $699 up to $1,500-1,600. If I buy a Honda, I still got to push it. If you've got the right yard and the right application for that, they're going to come. That's definitely coming. The challenge is how low we want to mow. But the other good thing too is you've got a small backyard with dog poo. They sort the dog poo out, no more picking up dog poo or any of that sort of stuff. It's quite, there's definitely a place for them. They're not taken off in the US. They're definitely big in Europe. We sort of sit in the middle. But a 3 to 5 acre block, you're still going to do it with zero turn. And zero turns is definitely taken over from tractor mowers.
Oh, for sure.
So you can see a lot of these zero turns, those boxes are tractor mowers. Okay. Log splitters. Here's some new 82 volt bush ranger gear. That's just arrived. So 82 volt, 48 volt.
This is your big release last week. This is
our
all
release
the new
last
stuff.
week. So there's our 82 volt chainsaws. 48 volt chainsaws. These are all prepping to go to dealers. We've got a lot of orders going out this week, next week. So, check. There's some new riders.
These are the battery ones?
Battery ones. And so,
how much work behind the scenes did it take, or how long did it take to get this product line up and running?
some of it different, but we've been looking at multiple suppliers for years for this battery. If you remember when, like, we well and truly were down the line when we spoke in February, but we're constantly talking to supply chain all the time. There's opportunities arise, and so some of the product was designed and done 3 months before the show. It's an ever-evolving platform, and it just is constantly going. We've got a whole team that just does nothing but products. You know, and we know some of the products are missing something, like you saw in Paul's presentation, you know, little bushes or a bit of vibration here, or we might need a handle on something. That team's working constantly for that solution, and then once we implement them as fast as we can.
Heavy.
So this is all the Japanese Maruyama product. So brown box is Japanese. There's a good reference to Japanese. White box is generally a different manufacturer, whether it be China, Thailand, Basketball's. Brown box is all Japanese. Then you've got Stiga, tractor mowers. This is all units being recreated for last week. That's our domestic range battery that was had for a few years. Actually, very good product. I really like the commercial multi-tool in that. It's so light, so powerful, and the runtime's great. We just couldn't get the evolution in that manufacturer to keep up with the market. Whereas now we've got access to that yet. I'm going to go for a little stroll over to Area 51. So, we looked at the blades in the manufacturing plant, and the blades in the manufacturing, if you remember, was silver. Yeah. This blue colour means they've been heat treated. Yeah. Okay, now what's really interesting is all the Australian-made blades, even ones that we don't make, so OEMs, some of the people use Australian-made blades, they're never painted. So if they're painted black, they haven't been made here, and that's a tribute, I suppose, to the raw material quality that we use. Now, Australian standard states that these blades need to be able to bend at 90 degrees and not fracture. So these are actually a spring steel. If you have a look there. Now, when the heat treatment process happens, they don't always pair perfectly. You can see there, they don't all pair perfectly. So there's some differences in that. So in that, okay, this team will actually pick out the ones that don't pair properly, and they'll end up discarded, and they'll match them or find a perfect pair for them. And the reason that that's important is if they pair perfectly, they don't vibrate on your disc. And they also put the bolts, nuts and washers on. Okay. So, Sonia here's been with us for about 55 years, haven't you, Sonia? She's very, very good at it. She's seen, I can't even imagine the amount of these she's seen.
You see more blades than just about anybody else in the world by the sounds of it.
So once Sonia's finished there, you'll see she'll slide that board underneath. The element comes forward, heats the plastic, and if you notice the board itself is quite dull. as it comes through, the heat in the plastic as it touches the cardboard activates the glue, which then gives it a nice crisp finish. So that's a die with cutters. The hydraulic press, goes in there. They put a piece of board on top.
You just fix out your work there, you didn't quite put it in properly.
And when we get busy here, we can have 6 people here, and we've got 2 of these lines.
Right.
That goes in, there's a hydraulic ram that cuts that. Thanks, Soja. Element comes forward, picks it up. Done.
And these have been cut.
They've been cut. And that's how you buy it.
So these go in a box then, and
So that's for bulk blades. You know, we have box packed over for pick over there, and we have multiple size packaging through. And this is their job security. This is what's to be done. So if they ever don't see any blades in boxes, they're nervous, but if you have a look at what's to be done,
there's just a couple.
there's a few.
So I was going to say, what's the most popular blade in Australia?
Well, that depends. That's dependent on who runs out of what. So that's very dependent on who doesn't have stock. And at the moment, you must admit that Victor's been very good at not having stock, so we're selling a lot of Victor blades. But it fluctuates, Honda, Victor, Rover. A lot of stores carry the genuine items, so a lot of preference is genuine first. So those numbers skew massively depending on what the consumer's choosing. But yeah, we do volumes in everything.
What is the number of mowers in the country, do you think? Walk behind mowers.
No idea. There's about between 250 and 400,000 push mowers sold a year,
Whoa,
every year.
gee.
And Bunnings has a huge percentage of that market.
That means it's a lot of people who, 250,000 is like 10% of the population.
Yeah.
Is that right? And my mum was, no, it's 1% of the population. I'm actually horrible for that. So 1% of everyone who goes and buys a new mower every year.
There's a replacement cycle. So if you think about it, 10 years ago, 1% of the population bought that mower, and 10 years from now, it's wearing out.
Sure.
And every year that, if you bought one brand new last year, a ride-on, for example, 5 years from now, that ride-on's tired, you're either repairing it or looking to replace. That's happening every year. And weather dependent changes the volume of it. So I won't go up there, but that's our welding station for the Australian-made chipper.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you know, but I'm definitely spoke about it, I thought, was the chipper chopper. So the bush rated chipper chopper is made here. So when you're asking me about components to make a mower in Australia, we are working towards a depth behind here. That's our goal. It's been a dream of ours to do it. But this product is actually made next door. We'll go through that now. The welding stations are up there. The bending and folding stations are over here. This here is normally full of components. We've just finished a big build on them. So we batch build through the quieter times for stock for summer.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and we'll go through there now. This is where all of the heat-treated blades come back. And once they come back from heat treat, because they're all packaged here, they're all brought back in here, weigh counted. We check the same amount of blades that left come back, and they split them into whether they're going into crates. We do box loose blades as well. So all that's done here. So this beach dome set in Victoria at the moment, we've got 6 of these. Right in that January, not of last year, the year before, all the suppliers were out of stock and everyone came into stock at the same time. So we ended up with more mowers than we wanted at once. So this is some of the idea where we had to. Now we don't want mowers outside, so these get rotated. And our goal is to have them all inside. So you can see here, more zero turns. But this is actually our building. Okay, so we've got dipping bars, oven, outercoater, and an assembly line on the left for the chipper, which is not running the chipper at the moment. He's doing wading up packs. But this is actually laid out to have 3 assembly lines in it for a walk behind push mower and 2 catcher molds where we make our own catcher. So there's the base. Their base is not chipper. So their folders welded over there. But so if you think about a mower, your foot pans and that are done like that, but all your chassis parts are done with big presses. So you'd fill this here just to make a freight. And whilst the Americas are doing, I think America's selling annually 1.5 billion zero turns a year. Some of it's, or it could be mowers in total, but it's some astronomical number like that. Whilst they have that volume, the cheapest manufacturing is always closest to that volume.
True.
Yeah. So that's why China doesn't make zero turns in volume, because the consumer market for them is the US.
So you can make it cheaper, but then you still have to freight it. And the freight on something like this is so expensive, it makes it...
Because they're going from raw material to finished product, the engines are being made in the US, so you think Cowie engines are made in the US, a lot of those engines are made in the US, all the hydraulics are made in the US, because that's where they're going. So you bring the cost of these units down for having them manufactured.
Right.
Okay, but that's a finished chipper, that's an Australian-made chipper.
So what's the thing that you're most passionate about with this business?
I love that we're an Australian company. I love that we employ Australians and that we're a family business that works with families. The customer base that we work with is unbelievable, really. And if you have a look, a lot of them are, you know, mum and dad shops. They're really putting in, and the whole industry is around service. So people genuinely care about what they're doing. And it's really nice to work in that. So much better than, you know, the faceless people in a lot of places that you go to. And making sure that this industry survives as a service industry. The last thing we want is to not be able to fix, and you know, we look at all the effort and that we're going into battery to save power. At the same time, we've got to be able to repair it, fix it, and not just have a throwaway society, and that's really important to us. Petrol's a very big part of what we do, but as you can see, it's some of the fast-moving consumables. But we just want to cover that market as best we can, and we want people to know that we're here to support them. That's what it's about.
Well, mate, thank you so much for giving me that tour.
No worries.
I enjoyed that, and I learned a lot. Hopefully the audience did too.
Yeah.
And everybody else who's watching, we'll see you in the next podcast.